So, the Resistance Trilogy. Yeah, so I'm going to be taking a look at this trilogy, which debuted on the PlayStation 3, and of course, as of now, has a trilogy on PlayStation 3, and of course, two games on the PSP. So, Resistance 1 came out in 2006 and was the beginning of a, little franchise. The whole story is about humanity having to fight against a group of aliens. It's a pretty cool story, and I think the first one did a wonderful job of presenting that story. Overall, Resistance Fall of Man was a pretty fun game. I think the issues with this one were mainly difficulty about through some parts of the game, and of course, the health system, as the health system works a bit differently in other games. It's a bit like Doom, where you don't regenerate health, but you can regenerate bars of health. Of course, you have 4 bars, and if you lose one, you lost part of your health. But those can regenerate at times, but it can also kind of be a bit annoying if you get swarmed by some enemies, which can happen, and it can kind of get annoying, which was one of the reasons why I had issues with this game. But overall, I think the positives outweigh the negatives for this one. I think the weapon wheel that is in this game is also pretty cool. I really did like the story and the characters, and I did like the action for this one. It's a pretty fun game and was one of my favorites I played this year. Then, of course, we have Resistance 2, which came out in 2008. Resistance 2 is definitely quite a bit better than the first one. While they do away with the weapon wheel, which is definitely really sad to think about, they also introduced regenerating health, like what Call of Duty had after Call of Duty 2. And of course, stuff like the modern Medals of Honor, and of course, some of the Battlefield games, at least to my knowledge. I've not played all of Battlefield or Medal of Honor. And overall, Resistance 2 is a pretty fun game. I really did enjoy this one. I think it's my favorite out of the trilogy. It feels the most accessible, in my opinion. The weapons are pretty fun to use, and some of the fights in this game were also pretty cool. Yeah, they had some challenging moments in this one, but nothing too annoying. And I definitely would recommend these games so far. And of course, next up, we of course have Resistance 3, which came out in 2011 and was the final entry in the trilogy. Resistance 3 is an interesting game. The game's premise is pretty much, humanity's kind of on its last legs, which always makes it interesting. The gameplay for this one was pretty fun too, along with the enemies. This one was quite challenging as it brings back the health system from the first one, but it feels like enemies do less damage to you depending on the difficulty. Because in the first one, it generally feels like enemies it feels like enemies are a bit too tough at times in the first one, but this one it feels just right. The game is challenging but not too annoying. The weapon wheel also returns from the first one, which is a welcome addition, and there's also some cool firearms that you can use. Overall, Resistance 3 was a game I thoroughly liked. Well, the second one is my favorite. This one did have some really good moments in it, and overall, I really did like the entire trilogy. I'm really glad I tried this one, and I plan to trophy hunt in Resistance 2 and 3. Unfortunately, Resistance Fall of Man does not have trophies because this came out before the update for them was a thing, but I still think that these games are worth trying it with or without trophy hunting involved. I think that they tell a really interesting story, has really interesting characters, and overall were really fun games to play. Hopefully one day we'll see a remaster of these, or at least maybe a sequel, but, considering that the series has been dormant for years, it seems that this series might be over. But of course, I do recommend the series. If you're on PlayStation, or if these ever made it to Steam, I definitely would recommend playing these games because they're generally really fun. But of course, that's all I really have to say about the Resistance games. So of course, I will, of course, be back next time with with another video. So of course, until then, thank you all for watching and have a wonderful night.